Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy here for the Daily Blob, where we say, I wonder if this is going to be the hanging chad of 2025. It is so weird how history pivots on the stupidest of crap. Not what you thought was going to happen. So the Trump administration is continuing to be exceedingly cagey about the Epstein files. Now, just to be clear, my personal opinion and bias on this, I don't actually care that much. We need more hospitals in this country. We need more hospitals in this country. I need to understand what the hell our strategy is in regards to trade practices and tariffs and all of that kind of thing. I'm not saying what Epstein did wasn't god-awful and horrible. I'm not saying the information, overall shouldn't be released. But come on now. We understand how the U.S. system works. I would argue there's more important things to focus on. But what's curious is that Trump's voter base, really cares about the Epstein files. And I think one of the reasons that they really care about the Epstein files is it encompasses, it is a metaphor for what they see is the rot in our society, right? An exceedingly wealthy person who had that wealth through, shadowy means was basically able to go and rape the ever-loving shit out of God knows how many women in the United States. He was supported not just by his assistant, but by other powerful political people. And it's the idea that the political elites in our country can literally rape us with absolutely no repercussions, right? So Biden doesn't release all of the Epstein files, and this is proof that the rot is in the Democratic Party, right? The Democratic Party is more worried about saying the correct pronouns about blue hairs than actually preventing rape of young women. And so we're going to have the strong Trump come in and do what needs to be done for America. It's a good story. It's a good story. That is some sizzle. That is some sizzle for a steak to get somebody elected. And then Trump decided to be Trump. Why does Trump do anything? Does he have a plan? I don't really understand here. It seems like releasing the Epstein files is just do it. You would think. But no, he's gotten exceedingly cagey about it. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, literally said that she had the Epstein files on her desk and that she just had to do a few more things before she released them. And then all of a sudden she said, there is nothing else to say. Then it came out that Epstein did commit suicide. And then they released raw video footage that wasn't raw. Now, to be clear, I don't know if it was nefariously tampered with. It may have just been re-encoded, so it was easier to download. I don't know. But the raw footage, literally wasn't raw. It was re-encoded. And then as people started complaining and wanting the release of the Epstein files, Trump has basically come out and said it's a nothing burger and only bad people want the Epstein files. Which, yeah. What do you say about that? I think this is kind of interesting, though, in this whole modern world, when we start talking about things like transparency and the question of how do you actually deal with transparency? What if he releases all of the information and there isn't actually that much there, right? The whole idea that the government or the authority figures are hiding something from you. So even if they release everything, would you believe that they released everything? If they release everything and there's no smoking gun there, nobody to hang, would you believe that they actually released everything? Right? With redactions. It's interesting right now. There's this whole thing going on in Texas where Elon Musk and Greg Abbott communicated. So Greg Abbott is the governor of Texas. And so Greg Abbott's office is not releasing those emails because there is embarrassing private information in there. And that's one of the big questions that, like, when you think about like transparency, do you want the wrong type of information to get out in the world? Doxing information, personal identifiable information, that type of thing. But if you hide certain information because of that, how do people know you're not hiding other things that might be relevant to them? And so when you push the idea for hyper transparency, how do you square that ideal with the practical implications that you might not actually want to be 100% transparent? I think about this like with jobs right now. There's this whole idea of wanting to be really transparent with salaries, which I think is actually an asininely bad idea. Let me explain why. So if you have two employees and they're doing the exact same job, and one employee is making 10% more than the other employee, right? Oh my God, that's horrible, right? People are up in arms. That's horrible. Now here's the thing: if you look at those two employees, and this employee was hired during a lull in the economy, right? So let's say hundreds of thousands of people are being laid off at a time. Your company happens to need a database administrator, so they go out and hire this person. They hire this person for what? Let's say $90,000 a year because they're willing to take that job, right? The economy rebounds. You have a project. So you have a project. You actually need to do a big migration or whatever else. You're time constrained on that project, right? That project has to be done in 90 days. So you have to find another database administrator of commensurate level, and you have to find them within a very select period of time. And so when you do the negotiations, right, you're negotiating in the environment that it currently is. So to get this person in the door, you may have to hire them, pay them 10% more, right? Okay, we really want you. And they say, well, I won't work for anything less than $100,000 a year. And you say, okay, fine. Well, now you have two people of the exact same level. One person's actually been with the company longer, but this jackass is now making at least 10% more, right? If this person finds out this person is making more money, all hell's gonna break loose, right? But the issue is, as I've talked about before with CEOs, a CEO is a real job. CEO is a real job. One of the reasons I give Elon Musk crap is because he is CEO of so many companies. Imagine if he was a full-time CEO for just one company, what he could do. Anyways, it's a real job. And you've got to figure out where the money's going to go. Some money goes to marketing. Some money goes to facilities. Some money goes to toilet paper. Do you think about that? Do you think about how much money toilet paper costs for a 100-person company? It's actually quite a lot of money. As I always say, you really want to know how well your company is doing? Look at their coffee budget, right? If you have a top-of-the-line espresso machine straight out of Italy, your job is probably secure. Right? At least as long as your company exists. Your company might go belly up, but until your company goes belly up, your job is probably secure. If you come into a company and they have Starbucks, so they have the little coffee machines or the K-cups or whatever, and it's Starbucks, then that's a pretty comfortable thing to be at. Basically, you know that the company has enough money to pay for Starbucks, but isn't splurging, so they're probably not wasting money, right? That's a pretty comfortable place to be. If, on the other hand, you had Starbucks and the company now has downgraded to that Lion coffee, you know the Lion coffee, basically a repackaged version of Folgers, yeah, then you know you're fucked. Yeah, they actually care how much money they're spending on coffee now. That's a bad sign, right? So anyways, that's the thing. And so when you think about a 100-person company, a 1,000-person company, a 10,000-person company, and they're making all these hiring decisions, one person makes $5,000 less, one person makes $10,000 more, and they're trying to figure all this out and keep the ship going in a particular direction, right? You are going to have very skewed salaries. People find out how skewed the salaries are, all hell is going to break loose. So, how much transparency do you actually want, right? That can be a big thing to really consider. Lots of transparency can run into issues. And so I think that's kind of curious now, as we start to look at Trump and how he deals with Epstein, is that there was this idea of transparency. There was the concept, the story of transparency, that he was going to come in and be a transparent president. No idea why anybody thought that crap was going to be true. Anyways, there was a thought, and now he's pushing back on the Epstein files. Oh, I don't know. Could get curious. Trump says, and this is curious, think about words too. Trump says U.S. Attorney General should release any credible information on Epstein. So not release everything. He's not saying to release everything. He's only saying to release credible information on Epstein. But he has already stated anybody who still cares about Epstein is a bad person. Oh, U.S. President Donald Trump has said Attorney General Pam Bondi should release, quote, whatever she thinks is credible on late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein as he faces a rare backlash from supporters after seeking to draw a line under the case. This is one of the things I also talk about with why trust matters, right? When you go into the office, if you're dealing with a CEO, if you're dealing with bosses, when you're dealing with managers, deal with them honestly, deal with them forthrightly, have them trust what you're saying. If you're the CEO, if you're the owner, if you're the manager, deal with the employees, honestly and forthrightly so that they actually trust you, that the default is to trust you, not to distrust you. Because the issue is there is going to be a lot of these situations where it is going to be a judgment call on how transparent you should be. If people generally trust you, then they're generally going to trust that you're doing the right thing. If they distrust you, they're just going to assume you're lying to them regardless. Bondi has been lambasted by some of Trump's political base after her department recently said there was no evidence that Epstein kept a, quote, client list. This appeared to contradict her previous statements and those of other Trump allies who have previously called for the release of more information on Epstein. Trump also said on Tuesday he did not understand, quote, what the interest or what the fascination is with the case. He earlier offered a defense of Bondi. Trump just can't fathom why people care about Epstein. It's so weird. This is a weird timeline. Quote, she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her, he told reporters, quote, whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. When asked by journalists if the Attorney General had told Trump whether his name appeared in any of the records, he said no. During his later comments, the president questioned the enduring fascination with the Epstein case, calling it sordid but boring. Quote, only really bad people. Only really bad people, including the fake news, want to keep something like this going. So basically, Trump is turning around and saying everybody who cares about the Epstein files is a bad person in fake news. Remember when, during the Biden presidency, when the entire population was like, hey, we care about inflation? Remember when white people and black people and trans people and cis people all came together to say, inflation sucks? And then Biden came out and said, no. Remember how well that went? Remember how well it went when Biden completely ignored people's complaints about inflation? I wonder how this is going to go for Trump. So basically, all these people care. They do care, right? While campaigning last year, Trump promised to release files relating to this disgraced financier. The issue reemerged earlier this year amid his public spat with his former advisor, Elon Musk. And so Elon Musk was basically hinting that Trump was in the Epstein files. In recent days, Trump has vented frustration over the fixation with Epstein and urged everyone to move on. I'm tired of this. You need to move on. But some Republican allies are not letting go. Some of the pressure on Bondi stems from comments she made in February when she was asked by Fox News interviewer about the purported Epstein client list. Quote, it's sitting on my desk right now to review, she said. Bondi's spokesperson said last week she had actually been referring to overall files in the case. In an interview on Tuesday with U.S. conservative commentator Benny Johnson, Speaker Johnson stressed that he trusted Trump and his team and that the White House was privy to facts he did not know. But, he said, Bondi, quote, needs to come forward and explain it to everybody. We should put everything out there and let the people decide, Johnson said. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene told Benny Johnson in a separate interview, quote, I fully support transparency on this issue. She praised Bondi's work as Attorney General, but said that the leaders and elected officials should keep their promises to voters. Another conservative, Republican Lauren Boebert of Colorado, said if more Epstein files were not released, a special counsel should be appointed to investigate the financier's financial crimes. So, yeah. This is the insanity that is currently going on. What makes it really weird? On Tuesday, Democratic lawmakers tried to unsuccessfully force a vote on releasing the Epstein files. So the Democratic lawmakers tried to release the Epstein files, and the Republicans blocked the release of the Epstein files. But then the Republicans pointed out the administration of President Joe Biden, a Democrat, also had access to the files, but did not release them. And this is the weird world we are in with the Trump administration, where the Democrats are saying, release the Epstein files. And the Trump administration is like, we are not going to release the Epstein files because Biden didn't release the Epstein files. The real enemy in this situation is Biden. And you're like, yeah, but you could release the Epstein files. So I don't know. This is the hanging a Chad moment for 2025, I feel. This is where everything in our society may change on yet another weird-ass dime that nobody was expecting. What do you think about the Epstein files? Do you particularly care? Is this the make or break moment for the Trump presidency? Holy crap. What do you think about this, though, with transparency in general, right? We're in this modern world where people talk more and more about transparency. Do you think about this as an organization leader? Do you talk about this, right, in organization meetings on how to effectively actually provide reasonable transparency, right? There are a lot of reasons you don't want specific information to get out. So how do you communicate with everybody so that they feel like they fully understand what's going on, whether or not they agree with it, if they feel like it's a relatively transparent environment? I don't know. Some things to ponder, some things to think about. Give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down, give us an amazing comment or a horrible comment. It is the modern world of social media, so all that matters is your interaction. Do remember, I do play around with silicondojo.com. We do fireside chats with real technology professionals. We are having David Cox, Vice President for AI Models for IBM, on the show tomorrow. So if you sign up your RSVP, you can come on to the Zoom conversation. You can ask questions while we're talking to him. So that's coming up. And we just did one with Louis Rossman. And the video for that is under interviews for this particular channel. So anyways, with that, see y'all later.